This is your daily briefing. You're most welcome to it. Tottenham, we need to talk about Tottenham. Do you know something? I feel as if I'm kind of talked out about them at the moment, which is probably not the best way to start one of these things. But I just want to give you my take and maybe sow a seed, because I think a lot of the discussions that are going on online, I don't think they're particularly sophisticated. I don't think they're breaking new ground. And look, we need to look at this situation, this mess, this fiasco, and kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. And it's like I'm minded of the business with Antonio Conte, and we saw him blow up. He went wrong after the Southampton game. And there were people saying, we had Alistair Gold and Kilpatrick and all these deadbeats saying, oh, yeah, he's gone off. He didn't really mean it like that. And he'll be back on. There was no way he could walk back into that room. And the reason I say that is not because I have some, curious mental powers. It's simply because I've lived a life. I'm a grown up. I've worked in the real world. I've been in boardrooms. It's not difficult. This isn't new to me. But there are too many people discussing our situation who, and I've used the phrase because the phrase I want to use would get me wiped off the face of the planet, are unworldly. Unworldly people commenting on things that they have no day-to-day understanding, no fundamental experience of. And so I want to put this to you. Daniel Levy is the CEO of ENIC. That's all he is. I mean, he's a shareholder, but I've got shares in various companies. I'm sure you have. It doesn't mark you out as a peculiar individual. They're just tokens, pieces of paper. But the situation with Daniel Levy is that he can be moved, and working on that basis. Because, look, if for example, you don't like the guy that comes round your estate or wherever you live, who drives the ice cream man, Popeye the Sailor, he comes round, you think this, no, not for me. You can't do anything about him until he breaks the law or something, because he's a one-man band. He doesn't work for anybody, okay, in the hypothetical scenario I'm giving you. But in respect of a formal company, and I've said this before, when those Spurs supporters people were saying, oh, no, we want representatives and we want this to be, none of your bloody business. This is a private entity, but it is governed, as businesses are governed, by the structuring, the formal structure, which some of us actually find quite handy, because it gives us the latitude to make changes, make alterations when things go wrong. And the situation with Levy is he's a shareholder and he's a CEO, but I would put it to you, he's a very bad CEO, very harmful CEO. And I've just been doing a piece for the old blog this morning. I thought to myself, well, this might actually work to camera with you. So hear me out. Let's lose the name calling, all right? Let's lose the charge sheet dating back to the beginning of time. And let's just focus on where we are right now. We've got a guy who has hired, right? And we know how it works. He has hired Antonio Conte, José Mourinho, two serial winners that he couldn't get a tune out of. And my argument, based upon fact, based upon the over 200 million euros worth of players, not including, of course, Matt Doherty, whose contract was not torn up, because people like to simplify. It's all this infantilization of things I keep on banging on about. They had to pay him off, okay? So it's just money hemorrhaging at every way you turn. And you've got over £200 million worth of players that Levy bought, and they're out the way, they're hidden. but no club in the world operates like that. And if you think I'm being, well, why was it that Matt Doherty would have taken us one over the agreed legal limit? So he hires these coaches, he doesn't support them, and then you end up finishing 8th or whatever in the league and no European football, which incidentally I think is a total blessing and not a curse. So you've got that side of the business whereby he is sabotaging the efforts on pitch of the club by his interference. And we know we can go on and on and on, but I'm trying to keep this truncated so we can focus. Just as Joe Lewis looks at it, he's going to say, well, what are you doing? I've given you the two of the best guys in the world, and you had to bin one 6 days before a cup final, and God knows we could have done with that. And then the other one, he's actually exploded live on TV. Errors of judgment in terms of the personnel that he has brought in. Paratici, bent as a 9-bob note. Interesting comment in the Daily Mail, I think it was yesterday, that Simon Jordan, TalkSport fame, Crystal Palace fame, suggesting that Levy or Tottenham Hotspur are still in some way having a dialogue with that man, who is not allowed to work in football, not allowed to work, verboten, nichts. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. Who knows? But then we've got the other side of things, whereby the football side is a mess, and then we've got the alternate side, which Daniel Levy is supposed to be the expert at. The commercial partners. You remember all those awful things? Oh yeah, go-karting and Beyonce and this, that, and the other. The social feeds, which are absolutely paramount in these deals. We always get told, oh, we've got multi-year deals with this tyre partner and this credit card partner and this supermarket, all these nonsense. But these guys, they can't put a single piece of content out because the social feeds, and you've got, I think it's over 8.6 million on Twitter, over 31 million on Facebook. On Facebook, I don't really use, but it's as bad as Twitter. And it's just full of hate and bile and contempt. And you cannot say, here's the boys training with the Get Here motorcycle thing. I understand Get Here are going pop, and we're not going pop, but they're reorganising their business in Europe. So they may be on the way out anyway. But you can't put out a thing out. You can say, this is our new 4x4, or this is our go-kart business or whatever, with people just saying, Levy out, Cullen out, kill yourselves. Nothing nice. It's all bad. It's all bad. And even when they put something that's kind of touchy-feely and charitable out, that descends into the same pit of just grim hate. There's no other way of describing it. So just on the very simple snapshot basis of this season, I would put it to you that you can't just go, like with Conte, he'll be back in on Monday. I think a line has been crossed. Now, traditionally, I would, you know how I talk. I would be calling for blood sacrifice. I want a head on a shiny silver plate. I want it, but you have to move beyond that emotion. And I think to sell it to objective people, to normal people who aren't children, that's a fundamental, I hope. But in the real world, a CEO couldn't play up like this, couldn't get away with it like this. And I think this guy's got to go. I'm not suggesting he's carried out with a mob with lit torches, as much as that would make many of us feel better about our own lives. But I think it's time for ENIC, Tavistock, wherever this next person's going to come from, and they just turn the dial, and he loses his seat, and he goes off and he takes his little shares with him in his envelope, and he potters off with Donna Cullen, and she can go off and be an absolutely abysmal human being with him or separate to him. I don't care. But they go, and then what you do, and this is the difficult bit for some of you, because you've never done it, you've never been out there in the real world, you've never been in a boardroom, you change the culture of the business. And only if you're lucky will the public stay and wait with you. There are some businesses you don't survive. People, mentioned in the past, Gerald Ratner likened a pair of earrings from his jewellers as being worse value than a supermarket sandwich you'd get yourself at lunchtime. And they didn't want to know after that. The public wasn't there. The business knew it couldn't come back. Like Conte, he'll be in on Monday. No, he won't be in on Monday. There are certain things that happen in businesses where Monday's gone. Monday, you're down the park feeding the ducks because it's over. That's your Monday. And I think this is Daniel Levy's Monday. I think it's never going to come, and I think he's got to go. I think ENIC have got to turn the dial. We'll probably get some suit, some LinkedIn weirdo, you know, the sort of people that operate in that corporate world, but we'll get somebody else in. And this could precipitate the business being sold. And I've always been quite free in saying that I think Daniel Levy has been a massive blockage in the business being sold. He knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. We've established that over the last 22 years. But his moving on, this turning of the dial, the good riddance to him and Cullen, who on a personal level, I would say are not forces for good. Maybe they do stuff in their private lives. That's wonderful. We'll read about it in their 99p autobiography that will come out in Asda at some point. But what I'm saying to you here, as far as this football club is concerned, this could be the catalyst of something really positive, because A, we get rid of them, which is a massive positive. But then it's whether, and with a football club, it's a different gig, because you can buy jewellery, Ratner's down the pan, but you can buy jewellery anywhere. You can't be a Spurs fan anywhere. You can't be a Tottenham fan anywhere. So there's a ready-made audience. The forgiveness is probably in people's hearts, truth be told. So if they went, sayonara, bring in the new people, and they've got to come with a different culture. And I hate all this language. It's not me. But I think there needs to be something a little bit more touchy-feely about Spurs, something a bit more holistic, something a little less corporate and little less confrontational. And you know what I'm going to say? You got a list of things you want to do with this football club. Number one is football. And number two, who cares? Number three, who cares? Do what you want. Work through the night on the number two, the number three, the number four, and so forth. By all means, knock yourself out. But open up a different social media account for it. If you're interested in go-karts or cheese and wine parties or bubble bath or whatever the product is, nobody cares. We're football people, and it's a football club that we care about. So there you go. Ideally, I'd like to see it sold, because I don't trust them. I don't trust their business models. I don't trust their money. A lot of you are hidden behind the coattails of the dirty Russian money, dirty oil money. And quite frankly, I think you haven't thought it through. It's very easy to say, well, I don't like that because he's got more than me. And I think the politics of envy have come into it an awful lot. Spurs have spent money, spent good, honest, hard-earned money, but they've spent it very poorly. And the combination of that interference and then the general interference that has got the fan base riled up, whereby then the commercial side is impacted. I mean, look, we saw ourselves the business with the subscription thing for the one HOTSPUR thing. I have never seen, genuinely, I mean, this is what they talk, you know, they're all after that elusive thing, that fan engagement, you know, where a series of fans all think about something at the same time, and they try to sort of manipulate it so it looks as if it's a natural thing. And they did it. This is one of the rare times I've seen it in my life. Everybody was talking about this one HOTSPUR membership, and the amount of people are saying, well, I've got it, but I haven't used it for years, or I keep it like in the back of my wallet, but maybe it's time. And that was, for me, that was a little bit of a watershed moment as far as a sort of a corporate thing goes, that you had on all these different platforms, on Arcoys, on Spurs Community, on social media. There was a kind of synergy of people going, yeah, do you know, I probably don't need that in my life. And they've caused that. And that's the damage of that is worse than the pounds, shillings and pence of the cost of the subscriptions. Because they've actually got into people's subconsciousnesses. They're asking people to review how they feel about something that they should just be default absolutely passionate about. And people are saying, well, yeah, actually, I've got one of those, but no, I don't need it anymore. So it's tough, but they've created it. They brought it all on themselves. We've been talking about this for a long time, and that's what I think needs to happen. That's it for now. Good luck, and remember, come rain or shine, keep it on.